In today's video, we'll be exploring the world of hobby-grade automatic electronic blasters, or AEBs.
In particular, we'll be comparing the Sweetheart Storm V2, the Colonel Wasp 76, and the Challenger.
To help us find a winner, we'll be ranking these three blasters in three categories: performance, availability, features, and each category has a total of 30 points. So with that said, let's jump right into the video.
Now the first area we're going to cover is how to get one, which blaster is the easiest to get, and we've divided this up into a couple different areas. Number one is availability. Now the Storm can be purchased right now at Frontline Foam, so it's pretty available. Now the Colonel Wasp 76 is not available at Monkey Mods currently, and I don't know of where else you can get one. And finally, the Challenger is available, but I have heard that it is something that goes in and out of availability, so keep that in mind. Now, the next area to take a look at is the price. Obviously, the Storm is a very hefty price tag, $524.99. Behind that is the Challenger at $262.50. And the cheapest of the three is the 76 at $168.75. So based on these two factors of how to get one, we have ranked the Storm as number one for availability and the 76 as number one for price. However, keep in mind, you currently cannot purchase one at that price. To conclude this section, we have the Storm winning for availability and we have the 76 winning for price. So each blasters are going to get 15 points. The next area to look at is performance. Now, the Sweetheart Storm by far has the best performance out of the three blasters, and that's because of the FPS and overall accuracy. Now, it is worth noting that the Storm did not come with a SCAR, and AEBs typically need a SCAR to function well. So this was a close one because the Challenger did come with a SCAR, and of course the 76 did not. Now, we did have an extra Gavin Fuzzy 9-bearing SCAR that we threw on the Storm, and it was pretty accurate. We did notice while firing the 76, when the barrel goes back and forth, it actually makes the blaster move a lot, which in return can decrease accuracy. So that is worth mentioning. Now for FPS, the 76 was hitting around 150 FPS. And keep in mind that is the stock spring. Now on their website, they say the blaster does come with an upgrade spring that can hit 220 FPS. And the Challenger was hitting around 160 FPS. And for what we can tell, it doesn't look like the Challenger has an upgrade spring. And finally, the Storm can go up to 300 FPS. We were clocking in around 250, 270. This brings us to our last area of performance, and that is rate of fire. This is another area that the Storm just took us by storm. Coming in at last place is the 76. It just has a much slower fire rate. We then tested the Challenger and the Storm on 3S LiPo, and they were actually pretty close, but the thing is, the Storm actually can run on 4S. Now, there is something we have to talk about when running the Storm on 4S, and that is you need to use double-sprung magazines because simply the darts can't feed into the Storm fast enough. That's how crazy this thing is. And that concludes the areas of performance, and we basically have a winner here. It is the Storm. So we have another 30 points going to the Storm. The last area that we're going to use to rank these blasters is what features do they have? And the first area is what we like to call TPF. This is trigger pull to fire. And the Storm, hands down, has the best because of its pre-compression of its spring. It literally has a hair trigger. The next feature we wanted to look at is the overall build quality. Now, both the Challenger and the Storm actually have really good build quality. However, we decided to go with the Challenger because of its nylon and metal parts, whereas the Storm is metal parts with 3D printed parts. And from what I can tell, the 3D printed files are not available. And this is actually one thing I am not too crazy about the Storm. The Storm is such a unique platform, and the hardware that you need is so obscure and hard to get that not allowing the 3D printed parts to be available is just kind of strange in my opinion. Another area to look at when talking about accessibility is accessory mounting. We gave this category to the Storm because of all of its M-LOK and then the Picatinny on the top, and we are talking about the full version of the Storm, not the CQP version. Another very important area to look at when talking about accessories is mag compatibility. Now, the Challenger has proprietary mags. However, the Storm and the 76 share Talon geometry, so it is a tie between those two blasters. Now, not having proprietary mags is not necessarily a bad thing, but I simply am not too fond of the Challenger mags. And next up is stocks. Now, the 76 actually wins this. 76 has been kind of struggling on this list, but it does have a buffer tube stock, which is actually the best stock. In addition, the Challenger stock is pretty flimsy, and the Storm stock, well, it's fixed. Now the final area of features is ergo, and this one's kind of a wash because out of the 3 blasters, we all kind of picked our own, and that's why this one kind of comes down to personal preference. Personally, I love the Challenger. I think it feels great. I think it feels better than the other 2 blasters. However, Lucha seems to think the Storm feels the best, and Coney Dog likes the 76. So because of that, this area is kind of a wash. And wrapping up the features category, we are giving 30 points to the Storm.
Hey, Luca! Do you mind sharing the results with the class?
So essentially we had 90 points to divide up between the 3 different blasters. In last place, we have the Challenger, which the main highlight of the Challenger is that it has metal and nylon parts, so the build quality is really good. In second place, we have the 76, which the main highlights are it's the cheapest of the 3, and it has a buffer tube stock, which means our winner for this video is the Stampede. Nope.
Yeah, actually, the winner for this video is actually the Sweetheart Storm, obviously.
So pretty much the rest of the points go into this thing. I think it's a really dope blaster.
Statistics aside, I feel like this wins hands down just because of the trigger pull, because it's very much like using a conventional Springer, where you just pull the trigger and it just goes. And then all the reciprocating motion happens after you pull the trigger. So yeah, that pretty much sums it up. So yeah, man, what do you think? Can he do that? Can he do that?